Question number 6.
Why did you side with the cartels over the Border Patrol Union to kill the toughest, fairest border bill in history?
Oh, well, 1 second. I do understand. Look, I know you said that I've killed that bill. What you fail to understand is I wasn't in office. You were. You were vice president. And by the way, you were vice president when the president was a demented circus monkey. So some people could say you were actually president where you had power. You were the tiebreaker as it related to the vote.
Donald Trump performed a town hall tonight because Kamala Harris refused to debate him. She's only given one interview in, I think, 40 days now that went catastrophically, and she's saying that Donald Trump should answer questions. This is why she's going to lose if you keep your foot on the gas. But let's go through, because I can't read them. I have a very small monitor. The 10 questions that Kamala Harris from her slutty ivory tower says that Donald Trump needs to answer.
Why do you pretend to know nothing about Project 2025 when over 100 of your former and current staffers were involved in its creation? You praise the organization behind Project 2025 as laying the groundwork and detailing plans for a future administration.
Okay, to answer question 1, do I have to do it as Donald Trump?
You don't have to do all of them.
All right, so
maybe a couple of them.
Look, listen, I had nothing to do with Project 2025. I've condemned it. I've done it repeatedly. It has nothing to do with me. It's not my policy. Unlike you can see my policy. It's publicly available. And if people were condemned for folks who had something to do with them at some point, you, of course, would be hung up for treason because of your Marxist professor father, who you don't know. Question number 2.
Will you sign a nationwide abortion ban like the one you plan to vote for in Florida?
I've already said that I wouldn't, but I understand that that's a big issue to you because you're a whore. I've said that I support the exceptions for rape, incest, and the health of the mother, even though the fake news media tries to lie because they're carrying your water saying that I would outright ban abortion. It's not true. It's gone to the states, and I'm happy about that. Question 3.
Why do you want to raise costs on middle-class families by nearly $4,000 per year?
Hold on a second. I couldn't hear you over the fact that you were vice president, over the administration that raised the cost of living so Americans need $17,000 more in annual salary simply to live the same kind of lifestyle that they did when, frankly, Donald Trump was president. I couldn't hear you over that. What was that? Average salaries went up over $4,000 under Trump. They went down $4,400 under Biden. I'm sorry, Harris. Question number 4.
These are bad. Do you agree with your top economic advisor who said he has doubts about the child tax credit?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? Did you hear that? The child tax credit? You mean the idea that you stole from me along with no taxes on tips where you talked about a child tax credit? I think you said this now recently and people said, oh, now Kamala, she says, I'm against taxes like anyone believes that. That's another thing you stole from me. Bold of you to ask that question. Question number, whatever next.
5.
5.
Will you apologize to the millions of veterans, active duty service members, and their families for calling soldiers killed in action suckers and losers?
Oh, well, you know what? That would be a great question. It would be a great question if Snopes didn't already fact check your lying biracial ass is false. Even they said it's not true, but you just can't help yourself with the fake news. You can't help yourself. She has to keep lying, folks. I would never say, people say she lies so much you can never know. Do you know? Well, actually, you do know. You do know she's lying if her lips are moving. And her lips look like she's always been eating a purple popsicle, which frankly is disconcerting, people say to me. So I won't apologize for something that your own folks media have said is false. Question number 6.
Why did you side with the cartels over the Border Patrol Union to kill the toughest, fairest border bill in history?
Oh, well, 1 second. I do understand. Look, I know you said that I've killed that bill. What you fail to understand is I wasn't in office. You were. You were vice president. And by the way, you were vice president when the president was a demented circus monkey. So some people could say you were actually president where you had power. You were the tiebreaker as it related to the vote. But I think you're talking about the bill that had $20 billion, frankly, going to the border, none of which was going to the wall or security, and I believe over $70 billion to Ukraine. Should have been called the Ukraine bill is what it should have been called, but instead you wanted to fool Americans. I would support a bill that actually supports security, not money to Ukraine, who, by the way, would never have been invaded if I was president. People say that, they know that. Next question, 7.
Will you terminate the Affordable Care Act in a second term? What about Social Security?
Affordable Care Act, absolutely, because it sucks dick. Social Security, that's more fear-mongering that you do where you try and say people want to cancel Social Security. But you know what people don't talk about is the hidden tax Right, America, right, folks, the hidden tax, Social Security. That means the people living on Social Security, their dollar goes, frankly, less far when you have over 20% inflation. What do you think that does to people on Social Security making a few hundred, maybe $1,000, $2,000 a month? They have to live on that. And you create record inflation, which you'll make worse with price gouging and banning fracking, where now gas will be $20 a gallon, people say. I would never say that. Could be $20 a gallon gas. So neither one of us wants to ban Social Security, but you want to make it more expensive for those people to live. But I guess you might say, people have told me, you've said this, that if those old folks would better, if they'd rather die, then they'd better do it and decrease the surplus population, which frankly, I don't like quoting Ebenezer Scrooge unless it's at the end of the book, The Good Scrooge. Question number 8.
I thought that sounded familiar.
Is Hannibal Lecter a real person?
Hello,
What?
Kamala.
That's a real question?
Real question.
I hope you've enjoyed your failed presidency and the sweet taste of Mayor Willie Brown.
That's what he was saying, because you have sex with so many mayors, all the people in front of all the other people, because they like to watch and you like them to watch. I don't know what that question is, but Hannibal Lecter is a fictional character, much like your role as the border czar. Question 9.
Do you
Hello,
regret
Kamala.
choosing J.D. Vance, the most unpopular VP choice in modern history, as your running mate?
Tim Walz banged a horse. That's the thing. You say J.D. Vance. Look, you have a guy who's running. Tim Walz is so. You want to say that J.D. Vance is weird because J.D. Vance is. Tim Walz, his own family comes out against him. You can see the picture. It's a beautiful picture, a good-looking family. Tim Walz he may even, frankly, put Minnesota at risk for you because he's so unpopular. Jesse Ventura was more popular than Tim Walz in Minnesota, and that man's crazy. He lives in a casita down in Mexico now, eating migas.
It's a good friend.
So you say J.D. Vance is weird. What I think is weird is supporting an unrealized capital gains tax, or Tim Walz supporting abortion. Look, I support exceptions like most Americans as far as rape and incest, health of the mother. He supports abortions up until and after birth. Can you believe that? That's crazy. He made his state a trans refuge state so kids could transition and leave their parents. So when you say J.D. Vance is weird, I think the man who's a socialist who says the First Amendment doesn't protect online speech is weird. And he banged a horse. Question 10. Let's round this
Final
out like you're
question.
doing really well.
Why should a twice impeached, 34-time convicted felon found liable for sexual assault be allowed anywhere near the Oval Office?
Well, that would be a great question if you weren't the party of the dirty bitches who tried to impeach me using lawfare. And it looks like, frankly, Joe Biden might be impeached for things that, can you believe it? He actually did. If you can believe it, things he actually did. Money to China. Money to all these other countries. These are, and I think if people tune in at 10 a.m. tomorrow, they might actually see the kind of lawfare at play. We see it. You talk about twice impeached. Well, maybe if I was a rioter, maybe if I was a looter, maybe if I was burning down a Walgreens, right? Maybe I would have been just considered a summer of love. But instead, I questioned election results that, frankly, I got more votes than anyone in history. And then Joe Biden was more popular than anyone in history. Your impeachments. Your own people say that they're politically motivated. It's a witch hunt, or as you might know it, a bitch hunt, because you're a bitch. These are 10 bitch questions. I hope that I've recapped that for you, but it wouldn't be me. Other people say the same thing. They say she's a bitch. Can you believe it? And I say, Josh,
I can't believe it.
you should never say that.
No, you should never say that.
But
You would
they
never.
say she's a horrible bitch. I say, okay.
I said that.
Nice job. There we go.
I feel like we need a
7
guest
minutes,
stinger out.
45 seconds.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Your voice is probably shot for a while, so we'll just see how that goes.
Yeah, I did that for an hour.
Hey, if you like this video, you can comment below. We always appreciate your feedback. Or click one of these, which will be similar as far as rebuttals, claims, truths. Maybe it changed my mind. Or sometimes we talk about the difference between men and women, how dogs are different from cats. Airline food. No punchline, just premises, because this is the internet in the 21st damn century.